Hello YouTube, I'm your Huckleberry, and this is the Spyderco Chaparral, and I hope I say this correctly, Raffir Noble? Because it's either Raffir or Raffir. I'm going to go with Raffir. Raffir Noble, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me down in the comments and give me a pronunciation guide there. But anyway, that kind of special designation is referring to the scales. He was the designer of these scales, which you can tell are not your everyday normal Chaparral scales. They're a little bit different. They're in acrylic with some brass and copper mesh in there that give it this really, I think, really cool look. And so that's what that other name, Raffir Noble, is referring to. But anyway, let's get into some specs. We're looking at 6.4 inches in overall length with a 2.8 inch blade. You're looking at a 0.08 inch cutting, or thickness, sorry. Thickness, which makes it better for cutting. Blade thickness there. We have CTS XHP steel, and it is in that kind of Spyderco drop point blade shape with a flat grind and a satin finish, as you can see there. We've already gone over the scales, but they are acrylic with brass and copper mesh in there, making it look cool. And it is, of course, a lockback, as you can see there. And it is situated for right or left hand tip up carry. All right, and let's get a weight on this guy here. We're looking at about 2.4 ounces, so a very nice lightweight knife there. Very nice and lightweight. And let's do some size comparisons. Here it is against the Kershaw Leek. So it is smaller than the Leek in terms of overall length and blade length, if we can get those lined up there. So smaller overall than the Leek. Here it is against the standard size or the large size Benchmade Griptilian. So you can see there, definitely smaller than the Griptilian. If it's smaller than the Leek, it's definitely going to be smaller than the Griptilian. But there you go. There's a nice size comparison for you. And then one more, or two technically, I guess, but we'll just kind of do a Spyderco sandwich here. Here it is against the Paramilitary 2 and the Para, I guess technically, 3. Lightweight. And so there it is there, and it's definitely smaller than the PM2, and a little bit smaller than the Par 3. But there you go. The Par 3 measures pretty favorably to the Chaparral. A little bit different, a little bit bigger, but the lightweight is definitely close in terms of weight. The lightweight's not much more than the Chaparral there. The Par 3 lightweight. But okay, let's get into the review, the pros and cons. The first pro, this is a slicey blade, and it kind of starts with that 0.08 thickness there, but it's slicey. I mean, this thing will slice through cardboard, slice through tape, slice through paper. It will slice all day long. It is a very nicely full flat ground slicey blade. And I enjoyed using this quite a bit because, I mean, it just glides through a lot of different materials because it is, I mean, this is a cutting tool, that's for sure. I do always enjoy Spyderco's wire clips. Oh, their wire clips are always so nice. They could pretty much put the wire clip on everything and I'd be happy. Loops over, nice and lightweight, unobtrusive, just works. Slides in and out of the pocket easily, but still has good retention. And it just works. And so I will always point out the Spyderco wire clip because I think it is one of the best clip designs going. The fit and finish is very nice. It is very nicely done. And it should be for $133. It should be nice, well finished, and it is in typical Spyderco fashion. You can see there is a little separation there up at the top. You can kind of see a little gap in between the lock here and the liner, but you know, not bad at all. And down here, it almost looks like one piece unless you get it in the right light. All the edges are nicely chamfered. It feels really good in hand. Here it is in my extra large hands. And so even though this is a really small knife by most standards, it still fits. When I choke up on it, I can still get a 4-finger grip on it with my big old hands here. So it's still a very, very usable knife, even for someone with larger hands like myself. And if I go back on it, choke back on it, it is definitely a 3-finger knife. But, you know, when you use that choil there and choke all the way up, you can definitely get all 4 fingers on there. And if it fits my big old hands like this, I imagine it'll fit most people's hands. The jimping, I always enjoy Spyderco's jimping because it's always good. Never too sharp, but always sharp enough to get real good traction there. They do it on the choil, the underneath finger choil as well, which is always nice. Your hand is not going anywhere if you're bearing down and really doing some push cuts there or something like that. It's just going to work, and your hand's not going anywhere. I mean, I feel completely safe right there. I feel like I could put all the pressure in the world, downward pressure, and it would be just fine. My fingers aren't going anywhere. So you can really get in there and do some detail work and cutting with that, which is always nice. Spyderco always does a good job of that. I always appreciate it. I like the overall size. The overall size is nice. It is definitely a smaller knife, but you know, for an office, this is such a good office knife. You know, when you don't want to carry a Spyderco military in the office, and you want something a little bit smaller or more discreet, or you're wearing, let's just say you're wearing basketball shorts, or you're wearing slacks or something like that where you don't have as much pocket support. This is a great knife. You saw the weight there, 2.4 ounces. This is a great knife to carry when you're in those situations, or when you maybe have to dress up a little bit more, a suit, like I said, slacks, something like that, shorts, you know, basketball shorts, something like that. This is a great knife to carry because it's lightweight, it's discreet, it's not very big. You're not going to draw much attention with this knife. If you're just in a situation or an office where you don't want to draw a lot of attention when you break out your knife to, cut up your fruit or your vegetables at work that you brought for lunch, in the lunchroom, open up a bag, open up a box. This is going to be a knife, and I think especially with these scales, I think these scales, while they look cool, I think they also tone down the knife even a little bit more because they're kind of artsy, right? I mean, that acrylic with that floating brass and copper, it's kind of artsy. And it's just cool. I really like it. And they kind of tone down the knife further. And so this is just a really good knife for office carry or something like that. Or just, when you want to carry something smaller. This is a good knife, I think, to carry. The overall size of it is good. I just love the aesthetics of this knife. The aesthetics are really nice. Like I mean, you just kind of heard me talking about it just a second ago with the unique scales on this. It just looks good. It's just cool. It's unique. It's something different, and I appreciate that. I always appreciate when we can get something a little bit different instead of, your standard, black FRN or G10 with a satin blade. While I love this knife, it's a good knife, this is something a little different. Like I said, it's kind of artsy in a way, and so it's nice. As you can see there, right there, it does have milled liners, which of course help reduce that weight, keep that weight down on a smaller knife. And so I really appreciate, you can't really see them here because you got too much of the brass and copper in the way, but you can definitely see it there, right there, where you got some milled liners there, which help keep that weight down. So it's cool. And this is just a cool knife. It's just a knife that I really enjoy carrying. It's a knife I like using. But it is not a knife without its drawbacks. There are a few cons. I've been singing its praises, but there are a few drawbacks. These scales, while beautiful, nice and different, they are a little slick, as acrylic is wont to be. It doesn't have any texturing or anything because you really couldn't do that. But So it's a little bit slick. But like I said, even though that the scales are a little bit slick, when you choke up and lock in here on that top and bottom choil, the top ramp there with the jimping and the bottom choil with the jimping, when you lock in there, I'm not afraid of that knife going anywhere. It might be a little slick getting in and out of the pocket though, especially if your hands, if your hands sweat a little bit maybe. They sweat a little bit more than average, or your hands are wet for whatever reason. Those scales are probably going to be a little bit slick. It might be a little bit harder to get a grip on. The second thing about the acrylic is that it will definitely show wear over time. If you carry your knife in a pocket where you have, keys dangling around or just other items, flashlight, pry bar, whatever it is, we all carry a whole bunch of crap in our pockets. So there's no telling what we have in our pockets on a daily basis, most of us. And so if you're carrying that around with this knife, these scales will wear. They will definitely wear. But the only other thing that I carry in my pocket that I carry my knife in is like a little plastic Bic lighter and my AirPods. So they don't really, there's nothing really there to, scratch this up, but this will scratch up, more easily than your G10 or FRN or something like that. This is definitely going to show more wear and tear than one of those other scale materials. But, I always kind of like wear and tear. I always kind of like when it gets, I call it getting Boba Fetted. When it gets Boba Fetted up, that kind of Boba Fett aesthetic. I don't mind that, but some people might. The Spidey hole. The Spidey hole there, it's about the only place that they didn't round off very well or chamfer. It is a little bit sharp, not to the point where it hurts real bad or anything. And like, this is not a knife that you're going to be flicking a lot because it's a lockback. And so, I mean, lockbacks, you're just not going to get a very good action on a lockback. It's plain and simple. That's why I'm not a huge fan of lockbacks, because I'm someone who likes to fidget with their knives. I was never a fidget spinner guy or a top guy or anything like that, just because my knife was always the thing that I fidget with. And so you can't, lockbacks were not made for fidgeting. A lockback is a good lock. It has been proven over the decades that it is strong, that it will last, that it is a very reliable lock, but it is not one that lends itself to a good action. And so this knife does not have a good action, and you will probably never really find a lockback knife with a good action or much of an action. They're just not going to be much for fidget knives because it just doesn't lend itself to that type of lock. But getting back to the Spidey hole there, it is a little bit sharp. Like I said, not bad, nothing. If this was a knife that you could flick and fidget with quite a bit, if the fidgetability factor was higher, that might be a bigger problem. But just with the way that it's configured with the lockback, it probably won't be a big problem. But I wanted to mention it. The Spidey hole's a little bit sharp. There is no lanyard hole, which is not a problem for me because I don't really run lanyards on my knife anyway. And usually lanyard holes just annoy me because a lot of manufacturers sacrifice clip positioning for lanyard hole positioning, which always annoys me. But if you are someone who likes lanyards, you do not get the option on this one because there is no lanyard hole. So I just wanted to mention that. It's not really a con for me, but I know it'll be a negative for some people who like to run lanyards. And that about does it for this one. Overall, this is a very nice knife. It's different. Like I keep saying, it's kind of artsy. It's unique. It comes in at about $133, for CTS, XHP, and the unique scales. I think that's probably a fine price. I don't think it's overpriced. If you like this, you can get the lightweight version of this for, I think, like 90 bucks, somewhere in that area. And honestly, I got this in a trade. But if I were going to go out and buy a Chaparral, which I like, although I just wish it had like a compression lock instead of a lockback. But anyway, if I were to go out and buy a Chaparral, would I choose this one over like the lightweight model for the price difference? Probably not. Probably not. But If you're someone who wants something that's a little bit unique, a little bit different, here's another. I'm just going to get some more close-ups with the scales here while I'm talking. If you're someone who wants something a little bit unique to add to your collection and you like the Chaparral design, then this is a fine knife. It's a really good knife. It's a pretty knife. I like it. I enjoy it aesthetically a lot. I really do. I like looking at it. I just wish it had a better action. But anyway, if it had that, it would probably be, it'd probably be a definite keeper for me. But just because I'm someone who likes to fidget with my knives, I'll probably trade this one along. But that's okay. Because I really enjoyed, this has shown me that I really do enjoy the Chaparral as a whole. I think it's a good, reliable knife that will get you through most of what you need to get through. It'll do it'll probably, unless you're just working at a heavy-duty job that requires a heavy-duty knife, then this will probably get the job done. And it's got a nice, thin, slicey blade. So overall, it is a very nice knife that I like, that I have enjoyed carrying and using a lot, that I've enjoyed looking at. And if this is something that appeals to you, these kind of scales, then go buy you one. I don't think you'll be disappointed whatsoever. If you're just someone who doesn't want to spend the money on the scales, but like the Chaparral as a whole, I like the Chaparral as a whole, and I would probably suggest the lightweight model because it's going to be even lighter than this, which was 2.4 ounces. So it's going to be even lighter than this, and you're going to get the same, thin, slicey blade, and it's going to be a-okay. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Please like or dislike, however you felt about it. Comment down below. Let me know if you have a Chaparral, if you want a Chaparral, or we can just talk about knives in general. I just enjoy chatting with you guys. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I release a new video. And I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.